I've run over 400 Kaizen events worldwide, and it never ceases to amaze me how it can affect some of my team members personally. I love watching people transform during those events. It opens their minds to possibilities and hopefully helps them do things that'll support them, not just in work, but in their personal life. So we were doing a 5S event in a maintenance shop for a steam turbine manufacturer. Before the event, I asked my sponsor to take 6 maintenance technician volunteers and have them find 6 random items and time that for our baseline. You see, if you need a part when a line is down and are waiting for maintenance to find the part, the line is down for long periods of time. So the baseline was 22 minutes. So people that knew the shop had a hard time finding things. And the reality is, it's not that they're finding just one thing, but it could be 4 different things or 7 different things. So just multiply that 22 minutes and you realize that the customer is waiting for support or repair. Okay, we had 4 areas that we were going to work on: the main maintenance shop, a mezzanine out in the production area, a rack of many parts that had been there for years, and then a shipping container, about a 50-foot by 9-foot wide by 9-foot tall container that was sitting in the parking lot. Okay, so here's the deal. The first day, we have a new team of maintenance technicians, maybe a few support staff, and they're a bit skeptical that we're going to be able to make a difference during the week. And that's fine. I totally understand that. They had never met me, they didn't know me, and they had never done 5S. So that's cool. We did some training and focusing on 5S and how 5S can help support and improve safety and productivity and just make people's lives simpler and easier and less stressful. So we then took a Gemba walk of the 4 areas, and I will have to say that it looked like a tornado hit every one of those areas. I don't know how they found anything or did any work, but the reality is for years they'd been just dealing with that. And I guess that made sense that it took so long. But then we walked out into the parking lot and saw this shipping container. Like I said, about 50 foot long, maybe 9 foot high. Okay, maybe not 9 foot wide, but pretty big. And you have to open the shipping container. And inside the shipping container were lots of clutter and things, but mainly PVC parts, because there's a lot of plumbing that has to be done in this industry. A lot of liquids that are piped in, and apparently the PVC pipe wears out and it has to be replaced. However, shipping containers don't have light in them. They are enclosed. There's clutter. They're small. And Steve was very, very athletic and physically fit, and maybe one of the biggest, strongest people I have ever met in my life. And what we found out was Steve would have to go in that shipping container any time of night in any weather with no light except his own flashlight and find small PVC parts, anywhere from a 1/2 inch diameter, maybe 3 inch diameter for the thing he needed. And because he was so big and physically fit in 95-degree weather in an enclosed area at 2 a.m., that's not ideal. So this was his personal nightmare. He didn't say it, but you could tell. And I always say, no matter how bad your day is, somebody's having a worse day. So Steve apparently had that. So after looking at the entire space, we realized there were 3 main areas we needed to sort through first. And we got 2 30-yard dumpsters, and we essentially filled them. And the shipping container was one of them. And I helped with that. But up in the mezzanine, which was above the production area, we found that we could get rid of so many things that eventually we realized, hey, we could probably move those 10,000 PVC parts indoors, and we could eliminate the issue of trying to find things in the dark, heat, or cold weather in a very enclosed, confined space. So as the week goes on, I always have my sub-teams, so teams are working on little projects, report out to each other so we make sure that they're working on the right things and they're making great progress. And also at the end of the day, we invite leadership teams to come in and see what's up. And I also like to rotate it so everybody gets a chance to speak in front of each other. And some of them had never spoken in front of groups before. On day 2, it just so happens that Steve's turn came, and he stood up in front of the flip chart and started talking about all the major improvements and changes being made to the PVC parts. Well, in the back of the audience were about 5 to 7 leadership team members. And as I sat there listening to Steve they just looked in awe. And I couldn't really understand what was going on. But after all teams had reported and left for the day, the leadership team stayed. And one of them came up to me and said, "What did you do to Steve?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean? What did I do to Steve?" And he said, "In the years that Steve has worked here, we've never heard him say more than 6 words." And I thought, well, that's incredible. I'm surprised by that. I mean, he's just so open. And I said, well, I think what we've done is we've given him an opportunity to fix something that really bothers him. And we're really listening to him. And the whole team can see that this would be helpful for everybody. Well, as the week wore on, the entire team was engaged and transformed. And Steve just got more and more involved and more engaged. And it was just wonderful. He was leading some efforts. He was laughing, fully engaged. By Friday, we had basically removed all of the PVC parts. I got to do that. Everything was in bins. Steve got to direct me on how the bin should be labeled and organized in the mezzanine. And it was just so much fun. By the end of the week, we did an independent test of find time. So if you remember, at the beginning of the week, it took 22 minutes with experts. This time we took 6 people that were very unfamiliar with the maintenance shop in those other areas, and we said, find these 6 random parts, and we timed them. When we aggregated all the time together, the new time was 5.5 minutes. So 22 minutes to 5.5, not bad. Everything was labeled, everything was obvious, everything was easy to get to. And the longest time was somebody that had to go out to the shipping container, and he had a little trouble unlocking it and locking it. So that probably took half his time. So he was apologetic. We were just happy. But by the end of the week, a bigger thing happened. Many of the Kaizen team members, including Steve, said, we need to do more of this. This is really helping us. Let's get management excited. And that's what they did during the report out. So I think the biggest lesson here is Kaizen doesn't just improve a process. It can change people. And so if you're really trying to strengthen your culture of continuous improvement, you got to go with Kaizen. I hope this story provided you with some inspiration to revisit your own processes. I have a lot more I'd like to share. Head over to pi-partners.com to learn how I can help. And check back from time to time for more Kaizen stories.